Why didn't he just go up to him and be like, don't let your dreams be dreams? Why didn't he go that route? Why do you gotta be such a party killer, brah?
Because you have to be a realist. You have to be the realist in it. And then after that, because you have to.
No, that's not a good enough excuse.
But, you know, what's interesting
Fuck reality! That's why we play video games!
Wow.
Hello everyone and beyond, and welcome to episode 8 of Any Chat Box. You thought your host would be Cassie, but no, 'tis I, Jonathan Joestar.
Whoa. Whoa, now you're ripping off a deal.
And I will be hosting today's fun-filled episode, full of RPGs, fun chat, and a review of ReZero. That being said, these are the hosts joining me today. First, we have our producer, Cassie.
Hello!
And also joining us today is our fellow gentleman, Craig.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
It will just be us three today. Cami will be back on a future episode, but she couldn't join us today.
For now, this is my harem.
This is my swamp now. I could pull off the Joker voice the entire episode, but I feel as though
God, no.
I feel as though it'd scare everyone in the process. Or you may gain some viewers because it'd be like, whoa, that guy can pull off Heath Ledger pretty well.
All right, you're fired.
Or I could do Bane. Oh
fired.
yes. Ah, Bruce Wayne.
Fired.
Okay.
Get out of my studio.
Fine! I'll make my own studio! With blackjack and hookers!
Anyway,
yes, moving on. And as usual, you can find us on the usual social links, twitter.com/theanychatbox. You can email us at anychatmail@gmail.com. And of course, there's also always the YouTubes, which you can search for us on for the Any Chat Box on YouTube, but we don't actually have a dedicated address on the YouTube, so you will be able to find us linked on the other social links. Anyway, and on to the main topic of the day. We will be talking about
What are we talking about?
the fact that, well, anime has a lot of influence, even within its own medium, but anime fans tend to also be gaming fans, and there's a lot of influence anime has on gaming as well, specifically within the RPG market.
Mm-hmm.
what? I had no idea.
Anime gaming?
Anime gaming.
Also known as JRPGs.
I'd like to take this moment to introduce our side podcast, Animu Gaming. No, it doesn't exist.
Nah, dog, it's Save Our Progress. Come on, get it right.
Wow, man.
Indeed.
Selfish plug.
Yep. I have no shame.
Craig is also on a gaming podcast where actually I do believe you guys discuss an RPG in length, so maybe we could link to that episode, assuming it's out at the time of this episode being out. We'll link it in the description. There's your selfish plug. You're welcome, Save Our Progress.
When you gonna plug us?
They actually did.
Actually, yeah. Castle's on,
I need to catch up.
Yeah, Castle's on an episode, man.
Yep, I was on an episode like a week or so ago. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about RPGs today. RPGs.
So for those who are completely unaware of what that little acronym stands for, it stands for role-playing game, and it is a game in which players assume the roles of characters in a fictional setting. Players take responsibility for acting out these roles within a narrative, either through literal acting or through the process of structured decision-making or character development. This description is actually more about tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, but we are not talking about those. We are talking about...
we aren't that big of nerds.
Like PlayStation era.
Hey, how rude. We have played Dungeons and Dragons, Craig.
Yeah, we have, haven't we? Yeah.
I've also played Dungeons and Dragons, just not with, well, a version of Dungeons and Dragons, just not with this group.
Yes, you have.
Unfortunately.
You played
Oh
it?
yeah, I have. It was only one scenario. It was only one.
It was one session, but we'll
which
have
is why I
And
forgot.
it died horribly.
We'll have to have another one in the future. I will poke Zach, but I love how both of you just have sudden amnesia about the fact that that even took place.
Hey, listen, if it didn't, it was so long ago, and I
It was
don't...
literally a few months ago.
You know, a few months ago was so long ago, and with the current climate of my schedule, if it doesn't stick more than once, then clearly I forget about it.
Well, you know what else people were playing a month ago?
What?
John, weren't you playing Sword Art Online about a month or so
Oh.
ago? And more so, even further back?
And more so. And more so.
Indeed. And Cassie, I believe you're a bit of fans of the Tales series.
Just a wee bit. Just a tinge.
But why?
I love how I'm trying to get John to start this topic, and he's like, yes, but Cassie, how about you start
Let
this
me
topic?
pass you, but let me pass
And
you the potatoes.
Craig is also a fan of the Persona games.
I do like me some personas.
Nice cover there, John.
Again, he's passing it's hot potato. He's passing it back and forth, back and forth.
Back and forth, back and forth. Well, why don't we sit down and just decide who's going to talk about what? So who's got the hot potato now? Not it.
Fine, I will start.
I was about to say, let me start.
Oh, if you want to start, go ahead.
All right.
Guest.
So, my foray into the Persona games started with the Persona 4, you know, that smash hit on the PlayStation 2, which I believe was released back in 2008. You know, well after the fact that the Xbox, the PS3, and the Wii were launched, the PS2 was alive and kicking. So Atlas, being cool, what they do was just like, hey, we're making a sequel to Persona 3. High schoolers, you know, you get the romances with the girls, and you gotta go and dungeon crawl and use your monsters and to fight the other monsters. And the difference between the Persona 3 and the Persona 4 was, well, Persona 3, you had ragtag team of kids, and you had a blue-haired kid that sexed all of the ladies. You had, this time around, you were a gray-haired kid that sexed all the ladies, and you solved a mystery. While Persona 3, you had to save the world. Persona 4, you had to solve a murder mystery, and you went inside of TVs in order to solve said mystery. Also, while dealing with all your party members' inner dark secrets, you had to fight their shadow, their true self. Dun dun dun.
I want to say that up until now, you've made these just sound like glorified porn games.
They do sound like...
Well,
But then again, it does take a lot of influence from visual novels,
Yep.
aka dating sims,
Yep.
Well,
social links interaction, but there is no actual...
well,
There is
Oh,
implied
there is.
sexing
In
going
Persona
on, but
3,
no actual
there is.
visual
Well,
scenes
I was
of it.
more joking, considering all Craig used to describe these characters, or the main character do, is he sexed all the ladies.
You have?
That is true.
That is
actually.
literally
No,
all
you
you
do.
said about the protagonist. But I do want to
Especially
mention that I
Persona
did pull it
3.
up, and Craig, you were right that Persona 4 came out in 2008, came out in July 10th of 2008, so it's starting to get a little dated, but from what I can see here, it got a 9 out of 10 on IGN and a 90% from GameFAQs.
Well, let's just say it's Persona 3 is popular, but Persona 4 was like a mega popular thing because it spawned multiple spin-off games, the fighting game, the dancing Hatsune Miku game. It spawned an anime. It spawned a director's cut for the Vita, and then it spawned an anime off of that director's cut. So it's kind of popular.
Why do you think it's so popular? Is it because is it more anime than Persona 3, or are the characters more endearing, or what is it about this RPG that you feel sticks out so much? Because there's been several Persona games, obviously noticed by the numbers at the end of each of their titles, and Persona 5 is coming out later this year, so
I'm looking forward to it.
Get hype. So what is it you think about Persona 4 that made it so hype and so great, and that everybody and their mother wanted to play it, and because of it is probably just as hyped for Persona 5? Why do you think that is?
You know, honestly, I don't know, to be quite honest. It's weird because when I talk to my friends about the Persona series as a whole, we think that Persona 4's plot is not necessarily as good as Persona 3, whereas we think that Persona 3 deserved more than 4 movies. It deserved probably more exposure. I feel as though...
Are you a little salty?
Not too salty, but I feel as though, like, Persona 3 laid the groundwork for Persona 4's eventual, improvement upon all the mechanics, and maybe they felt as though it streamlined stuff. Maybe they thought that the characters were a little bit more fleshed out and likable than Makoto's putting his hands in his pockets and then walking around like a little tool where he listens to "Burn My Dread" like over and repeat. I don't know. It's interesting.
Hey, Burn My Dread's a good song.
It is a good song, but maybe secretly they all loved Juness and they just wanted to shop for good deals constantly.
Well, again, stereotyping the characters aside, do you feel that Persona 4 just had better characters then, if the story isn't as great?
Again, it's hard. Well, for me personally, I like the characters. I didn't get that far into Persona 3 to actually judge the characters in that game. I suppose the from what I've ascertained of the side characters, my friends have told me that, the supporting cast in Persona 4 was far better and more fleshed out than Persona 3's. Like, case in example, in Persona 3, you have a kid that wants to get with the teacher, and he's a social link in order to make him realize, yo, dude, you can't do this. So it's like,
you can't get
better
with the teacher.
but you can't get with the teacher. No, that is not a social link.
Why didn't he just go up to him and be like, "Don't let your dreams be dreams"? Why didn't he go that route? Why do you got to be such a party killer, brah?
Because you have to be a realist. You have to be the realist in it. And then after that, because you have to.
No, that's not a good enough excuse.
But, what's interesting...
Fuck reality! That's why we play video games!
Wow. So you want to... So, again, you want Makoto, the protagonist of P3, to essentially be like, you got this, go hit on the teacher, and then get a harassment lawsuit.
Yes.
Nice.
There's actually one one big difference between Persona 3 and Persona 4, which I think might have helped Persona 4 sell itself better than Persona 3. And it's just how the different characters get their persona, because in Persona 3 it's just like, okay, you just need to get used to the idea of shooting yourself in the head. Whereas in Persona 4 they had to face their inner demons and challenge them and not only
the shadow, the true
face
self.
them, but also accept them as like, yes, you are a part of me, and until I understand this, you're going to continue kicking my ass, quite literally. So
Cassie, did you play P4? I forget.
I did not. It's on my list of games to play eventually. I tried to play Persona 3. A while back, a friend of mine bought me Persona 3, whatever that special edition is. Fez, there we go. Yep. But I was told that there is a version... Is it a version of Persona 4 or a version of Persona 3 where you can play as a girl?
Persona 3 portable.
Persona 3 portable.
Yep,
yeah.
PSP.
I have a friend who was telling me that I might be able to get my hands on a copy of that so that we could play as a girl. Because I like that option, to be able to be a girl instead of a boy in the story. Because I don't know if you're aware, but I do have tits, and I do like playing video games, and sometimes I don't want to play the happy-go-lucky protagonist or the lack of emotion protagonist. I sometimes I just want to be me.
Do you?
No.
Do you want to be free?
No, I don't want to be me. That's why I play video games.
Fun fact about Persona 3 Portable is that I was playing that when my... I joke about it killing my PSP because I was playing that and running around the dorm when suddenly it fried my UMD drive, so I was never able to actually complete the
good old
story.
UMDs.
That's a pity. Though,
but Persona 3 was the only one that I've actually managed to complete at least the main story of so far. So
fun fact about that game, actually, P3P. It has a reference to Catherine in there. You get to see Vincent. Yeah, you get to see Vincent, the protagonist of Catherine, at the bar.
All right.
Would that be considered a spoiler? I'm not sure.
No, he's just there. You get to go to a bar as like a social thing.
Well, I mean, I think it's also pretty neat that most of the games that we're going to talk about today, and just to be clear, we're not like reviewing these games or anything, we're just having a general discussion about them, but they're all series, which is cool. And I wonder if that's another way that, you know, kind of the anime influence is there, that you want a continuation of a story. And I find that RPGs, much like anime, movies, books, whatever medium that's imported into a game, we mostly cling on to the story aspect, which is kind of cool. Which is where I guess I'll transition and say that I also really like RPGs, specifically Tales games, and I've only almost beat one of them. Well, in my defense, I finished about 80% of it, and then it died. But I recently got a PS4, and the first thing that I did was pop in Tales of Zestiria, or Zestria, or whatever you want to call it. And what was great was that Craig bought me a brand new game called The Last of Us, and the PlayStation itself came with what is that series called? My brain's dead. Uncharted. I can never remember the name of those games ever.
Who's the main character in that game series?
I know that because
Nathan Drake.
You mentioned it, and I was like, "My game with that."
Nathan Drake. I know the main character's name. I can't remember where he's from. I could be staring at the box and I'll be like, what is this? But anyway, the point is that I got the Uncharted game. Craig actually has games 1 through 3, so I could play those, or I could play The Last of Us, and Craig was like, I think you should play these because they're better games. And I was like, fuck you, I want to play Tales of Zestiria. So
they are far better games.
I don't care. So
better stories too.
I started playing it, and I think that much like Persona, it's something that I'm interested in because, one, it has really pretty anime cutscenes, and I have a problem. And two, I really like the characters. It's just as generic as any other Tales game. The characters are pretty predictable in a lot of cases. There's nothing that really jumps out at you like, wow, they're doing something really new here. And I don't know if any previous Tales games have been really innovative. I know that some people prefer some games over others, but I don't know if they've ever really necessarily done anything different or crazy standout. But for a basic RPG, for something you're going into wanting 30 to 80 million hours of gameplay of just prattling around with a bunch of characters trying to solve some sort of either mystery or be a great evil, it's really good. This is a good series, and I think that's one of the reasons why I was drawn to it in the first place.
It's, when it comes to that series, they have, like, about maybe 15 plus entries, mainline entries, and not including the spin-offs. But the thing that they people go for those games are like the combination of the characters and like the battle system. One of my favorite Tales games is Tales of Vesperia for the only in the States is for the Xbox 360, never for the PS3, which is a damn shame because that's the director's cut. But with that game, it had a pretty good combat system, not nearly as good as Grace's in my opinion, but it had the best story and the best cast of characters. Yuri Lowell, obviously reference to Yuri Lowenthal. Hideo Baba actually named him after that. That guy's played by Troy Baker. So I was like, oh yes, Troy Baker. Delicious. But either way, it's the characters plus the combat system. Grace's, in my opinion, has a very okay plot. Just the power of friendship and anime and whatnot, and the art it's very very it catches your eye. Like the world is pretty colorful and bright and pretty, but the combat, man, that combat is pretty dope. A lot of magical effects and everything happening all on screen all at once. It's beautiful.
And I suppose, like, considering the age of the Tales series, the combat system, at least when it was first introduced, must have been pretty innovative at the time because, like,
yeah, because it's like a
thinking
beat 'em up.
back to other JRPGs coming out at the time, like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. It's like, I'm gonna pick a menu item, and it is then going to attack, and
With the ATB, active time battles and whatnot.
and stuff like that. Yeah, so, like, sure, combat in those games is a core game mechanic, but you don't really play those games for the combat. You play them for the story and the pretty scenes, whereas Tales, the combat is a pretty big seller to it as well.
Very much.
So
What's interesting is that we kind of compared Tales of Grace's and also Tales of Zestria, which are the two that I've touched. And ironically enough, they both have basically the exact same scores if you look up like Metacritic and IGN and stuff. So basically these games, and they're not like getting amazing scores. Like Grace has got a 77 out of 100. That's like a 77%. And Tales of Zestria, or Zestiria as it were, I believe got basically about the same score on IGN, got a 7.8. So yeah, it's interesting because I don't think the games are bad, but they're not standout either, but they're fun, and that's why I like them, and that's why I play them. And I think that's another reason why people play, for example, the Persona games. I feel like you're going for that same kind of feeling and fun. And I guess the thing that I'm just keep trying to nail in is that this does appeal to anime fans, because there are animes of almost all of the Persona games and of the Tales games. But
Symphonia had a full-on anime, if I recall correctly, and Zestiria does. I'm surprised Grace didn't. I suppose it depends on the popularity of the IP for it to be expanded into other mediums, too.
I mean, there's that, and there's also, I mean, getting an anime or an adaptation of anything made is all about being in the right place at the right time with the right people who have a good idea. But the reason why I kind of hijacked this and wanted to talk about, wanted us to talk about Persona and then Tales, and I'm sorry I'm hijacking your episode, John.
It's fine.
But the reason I wanted to do it is because, like I said, these shows, or these series, each spawned an anime spin-off in some way or another. Tales of Zestiria has Tales of Zestiria the X, and Persona 4 has the Persona 4 the animation. But the game series that John is going to talk about happened in reverse, where...
I am going to be talking about the Sword Art Online games, which are based on the anime series and light novel series of the same title, Sword Art Online. Although as a really different twist to the other two, where like the animes are pretty much adaptations of the stories, there's going to be some leeway there, but Sword Art Online, they actually decided to go, right, basically the anime up until this point is canon in the games as well, but the games are going to be their own continuity with their own story from this point on. And so the starting point of Sword Art Online is on the 76th floor of Aincrad, right after the boss battle against the Skull Reaper. And it is from there that the events changed, and I'm not sure how much I want to actually talk about those specific events without spoiling the end of Sword Art Online.
I was about to say, yeah.
Or at least the Aincrad arc of Sword Art Online.
Yeah, what happens at the end of the first half of the first season.
Basically, the event that happened that allowed everyone to escape the game didn't exactly happen the same way, and as a result, they remained trapped inside Aincrad until they actually reached the 100th floor. So you actually start off in Sword Art Online Holo Fragment anyway, on Re-Holo Fragment, on the 77th.
Or 7, okay.
No, it is 76th floor. It's on the 70. It was the 75th floor boss that they defeated. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you actually start off in Aincrad on the 76th floor of Aincrad, and you make your way up. And then you've also got the Hollow area, which gets discovered. And through various other hijinks, Leafa and Sinon also end up as playable characters inside the Hollow Fragment series, despite it still being Aincrad. And so I would say if you join in with the Sword Art Online games, it would probably be best if you start off with the Hollow Fragment series, since that's where the continuity changes, and the games all follow this new continuity instead, though they do tend to go, okay, these are the events that happened in the previous game, so if you haven't played them, not that big a deal, but still.
So it's kind of like a trilogy almost. 'Cause are there 3 games out? I can't remember. Or are there 2?
I thought there was only 2.
There's 2 and there's a third one coming out, isn't there? I know I'm not crazy.
No, there's 3. There are 3 currently. I say 3. There have been like 3 different versions of the same story for Hollow Fragment, because it was originally what is it? Infinity Moment, I think, on the PSP, and then it got a Vita version, which was Hollow Fragment, which was the same story, but then added stuff
Director's
with the
Cut.
Hollow area, and then that got Re-Holo Fragment on the PS3. But then there was also Sword Art Online Lost Song, which was over to Aincrad. Not Aincrad, over to Alfheim Online, rather, sorry. And now there's Hollow Realization, which is in Sword Art Origin, which is a completely new version of Sword Art Online set in Aincrad.
Okay, so
as opposed to Aincrad.
So what was the first game's title?
I believe it was Infinity Moment.
Okay, Infinity Moment. Let's take a look. See here. So, Infinity Moment. How did you do? Just because
I don't think we got that in the States.
I don't know. I am looking into it.
Either way, it sounds like a bunch of them are just kind of like re-releases, essentially, of like the same sort of game.
Infinity Moment, Hollow Fragment, and Re-Holo Fragment are effectively all the same story.
Then why buy
Yeah,
all
Sword Art
of
Online
them?
Infinity Moment.
Out of curiosity.
You don't need to buy all of them.
No, you don't.
At all.
It's just...
you can just get Re-Holo Fragment for the PS3 or PS4.
Yeah, it looks like Hollow Fragment is available on the PS4, and I'm trying to see how these games did overall, but I'm not seeing actual Metacritic or anything like that scores at the moment.
What about Hollow Realization? What is that?
Hollow Realization is the newest one, and for a change, you actually start off at level 1, with all of the characters starting, and it is an entirely new RPG. It is not Sword Art Online, it is Sword Art Origin. And though it does have a lot of similarities to Sword Art Online, mainly the starting city, and all the characters do make a comment, or all the characters from Sword Art Online do make a comment of how unnerving it was to see the beginnings, the starting city, and how they keep on glancing at the sky, expecting it to turn red, and with that message again, and
You're all trapped, motherfuckers!
It's interesting because it looks like Hollow Realization at least has a 69% on Metacritic. So it doesn't look like this game is very well received critically, but that doesn't mean too much considering I know tons of people who eat these games up, and I feel like it's for the same reason as the other series where the only one that was really highly regarded was Persona. And I think people come to these games almost for the exact same reason, that you want to be in these fantasy worlds or worlds that aren't your own, and you want to be a part of these people's worlds. And I feel like that's another reason why we watch anime or consume any kind of media. So it's kind of interesting to see the little tie there.
It's one of the reasons why I love the anime and novels of Sword Art Online in the first place. It was like, oh my god, the idea of this game being a real thing, and this the hardware behind Sword Art Online being a widely available and highly accessible thing. Because before that, it was like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't come across any series before that where it was a true full dive virtual reality, which didn't involve them going to some other location and locking themselves away inside some weird capsule to put themselves into this huge capsule device to like some sort of cryostasis chamber to put themselves into the game. This is the first time I've seen one. It was like, no, it's a little headset that you wear and you just kind of lie down on your bed and go to sleep, and it takes over from there.
I was about to say the only thing I could think of is like Dot Hack, where they actually had the headsets.
But even then, those headsets are actually more like what we currently have. They are just like stereoscopic screens, and they're still controlling them with a controller, joypad.
Whereas the Sword Art ones are legitimately like giant, like helmets that like you're plugged in, kind of like the Matrix.
Plugged in. You're in the Matrix.
Go down the rabbit hole, and then see how far it goes as you get trapped inside.
So that whole premise of the anime is what drew me in the first place, and I fell in love with the franchise. And then, by the way, there's a game series, and oh my god, I can actually be playing the game myself, my own inputs, see how well I can handle it.
But do you die in real life if you die in the game?
Clearly not, because I'm still here now.
Or are you? Or are you a hollow fragment?
I get it.
I will bite my tongue on that remark.
Are we all secretly in a game right now?
Speaking of death and things.
Right.
Indeed.
Right.
So that sounds like a cue to actually kick into our actual review of today's episode, which would be Re:Zero.
Get hype.
Get hype.
Or Suffer Form.
Sufferborn, yes.
I'm gonna drive that joke into the ground.
Real life in a different world from Zero. Which I accidentally did not copy the original Japanese title over, so...
The full series is Re-Zero Kara Hajimeru Isekai Seikatsu.
That is the one.
That's
Or
a mouthful.
Re-Zero starting life in another world.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, so...
Still not as long as the Anohana title, just saying.
True that.
Yeah, that was another trend that I've noticed in
Anime as a whole.
animes, or rather in the light novels that they're being adapted from, is that there's been a rising trend in like almost competing for the longest title.
And then they abridge them.
And then they abridge them like Ima.
Yep, pretty much.
But yeah, anyway, the synopsis is when Subaru Natsuki leaves the convenience store, the last thing he expects is to be wrenched from his everyday life and dropped into a fantasy world.
Fantasy world, fantasy world, fantasy world.
Too many fantasies.
Things aren't looking good for the bewildered teenager. However, not long after his arrival, he is attacked by some thugs. Armed with only a bag of groceries and a now useless cell phone, he is quickly beaten to a pulp. Fortunately, a mysterious beauty named Satella, in hot pursuit after the one who stole her insignia, happens upon Subaru and saves him. In order to thank the honest and kind-hearted girl, Subaru offers to help her in her search. And later that night, he even finds the whereabouts of that which he seeks. But unbeknownst to them, a much darker force stalks the pair from the shadows. And just minutes after locating the insignia, Subaru and Satara are brutally murdered.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, ba, dun, dun,
However, Subaru immediately reawakens to a familiar scene, confronted by the same group of thugs, meeting Satara all over again, and the enigma deepens as history inexplicably repeats itself.
Groundhog Day, the anime. This hasn't been done before. Looks at Higurashi.
I never watched that show.
By the same studio behind Steins Gate, Akame ga Kill, and Katanagatari? Where it's in French. Katanagatari, that's the word. I don't know why that took me so many attempts. Studio White Fox is 25 episodes long, and everything that I just described from the synopsis is episode 1.
So it's not as spoiler-ificky as you think it is. By the way, what studio was it again?
White Fox.
Studio White Fox
White
is
Fox.
what...
Okay, cool. Awesome. I like White Fox. They're cool. I also like foxes. Those are cool.
Foxes are cute.
Foxes are cute. This anime could be cute when it wants to be.
So the tie-in with the JRPGs is that Subaru actually kind of talks about other anime where the main character has ended up in this RPG-like world when he first encounters the thugs, and then quickly ends up brawling on his begging on his hands and knees as he loses his confidence in, like, wait, did I actually get any superpowers? And kinda you did, kinda you didn't. Like, normally people get, like, I can throw fire, I have an awesome sword. No, you get an ability to use save points.
You gotta utilize them, man.
So yeah, that must be horrible thinking about it. And that's the point of the series, like, I'll just go back to a previous save point the next time I'm brutally murdered.
Or make a horrifyingly huge mistake that affects you psychologically, and then you get brutally murdered. You know, whatever.
That only happens later.
Suffering is fun, isn't it?
Well, I think that that's one of the things that's really interesting about this show is that it does take those basic tropes that we're getting really used to seeing recently.
The
Fantasy world. Yeah, fantasy world elements are not anything different, and I am about 88% sure that that's our new high school setting, considering like almost every anime that you watched in the later, or early 2000s had to take place in a fucking high school. And now it seems like, oh, let's just go and relocate to a fantasy world because we don't know where else to go.
Yep.
Well, I think part of that is the whole hype train thing, because
Sword Art.
Going back to Sword Art Online, that was popular. What about this series made it so popular? Maybe it was the fantasy world setting. And so everyone does fantasy world settings now.
Now everyone's getting tired of them.
And now everyone's getting tired of them.
I wouldn't say people are getting tired of them, because I would say that on average, most people seem to love this show, and maybe we could talk a little bit about why. We did mention the animation studio and how they've done a lot of great work, such as Steins Gate and others, and that show was also very visually appealing, and this show arguably is almost more visually appealing in a lot of aspects. There's a lot of detail that goes into a show that's almost 25, well, not even almost, it's 25 episodes. I feel like they really split their budget really well, and there are moments where that animation truly does shine.
Doesn't Steins Gate also touch on time travel?
It does.
Yes.
It does.
And Akame ga Kill also touches on suffering. So
Well, isn't that like Edgelord the anime, kind of? Like, from what I've heard?
It is.
Like, that's one of the reasons why I haven't even touched Akame ga Kill, is because I just... I don't know, man. I don't tend to watch things just for the fact of them being edgy, and that's what
dark.
And that's what people keep trying to sell it to me on. It's like, well, try and sell me on something else, and then they just kind of get quiet, and I'm like, okay, well, you've said all I need to hear.
I dropped off that show.
I need to get back to watching Akame ga Kill, but I kind of got spoiled on on the ending, and it's like,
But we're not talking about Akame ga Kill. We're talking about ReZero.
No, we're not. But yes, we're talking about ReZero, and I did finish watching that.
I'd hope so. Be kind of hard to give a review otherwise. I watched kind of most of it. And I think that's another thing that's great about ReZero, in addition to its anime quality, is that this isn't a show that you can just watch most of or half of and really get the full experience. You need to watch it all the way through to really have any opinions on it, which is really interesting and something that you don't see a lot in a lot of common animes recently. It's just, you can watch it and you know exactly what's going to happen. And honestly, at this point, I still don't know what ReZero is about, so...
Yeah, I've heard mixed opinions where it's just like, it's amazing, and people are like, it's not even finished.
Yeah, there is that side of it, is that it's effectively an advertisement for the
light novels.
So, do you want to know where it carries on from here? Go buy the novels.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. I mean, I'm hoping that they do... I mean, because this show was very widely popular. Like, for better or for worse, I'm hoping that it can get a season 2 at some point. But God knows if that'll happen this year, or next year, or 7 years from now. Looking at you, Durarara. Or, you know... Who knows if it's going to happen at all. Yeah.
Dang.
But that being said, while the ending is obviously open for a continuation that is not necessarily coming anytime soon, at least not in anime format, it does kind of close itself off okay-ish. Ish.
Though, I feel like to really highlight that, we have to talk about... Because we've already talked about animation and story in general, but the characters... Yep. I feel like that's
Subaru.
where I dropped the ish in, because there's so many characters that I feel in the show got completely shafted.
Or just disappeared never to come back.
Yeah.
And that is also one of the biggest draws of the series is the characters. Most series you have to rely on the characters.
You have to be invested in either the world or the characters to tell us a good story.
And just for Cami, because she's not here right now, but if she was here, the lack of Beatrice in the second half of that show is abysmal, and she needed more time.
She did.
We don't even know her motivations, or in the end how she ended up feeling about Subaru, and maybe we could talk about that more in our spoiler section later. But we didn't really get to feel or get a real grasp on who she is and why she's there. Same with the owner of the mansion. Same with Ram to an extent. Same with definitely Amelia. What are her motivations? We don't fucking know. And Subaru spends most of the show pining after her.
I was about to say, that she's Amelia-tan, and he will never, ever,
best
ever...
angel. Hashtag best
angel.
Girl, apparently.
Best girl. And...
Yeah, Amelia is the one that was named Satella in the synopsis. So...
Yes.
Just as for clarification.
And there's a reason for that we will not spoil. But... yeah, I mean, and we're just listing off people's names and stuff because we don't want to really give you too much character analysis, because then that might ruin it. We might have a section for that in the spoiler section. But for now, it's just you've got all of this entire cast of characters, and the characters that did get developed, and we could talk about this, I think, they did get developed well. Amazingly so. But everybody else, it's almost like they're just there, even though they're supposed to be main characters in this story.
I feel as though, really, at the end of the day, it's like... It's like a sort of style of storytelling where it's just like you follow the main character. Because, Final Fantasy 15 kind of handles this as well, where everything kind of seems like it should be in Noct's perspective. Where this anime is like, this is from Subaru's perspective. As he goes from point A to point B, some characters will come and go. Whereas you're like... I kind of wanted to see more of that character, or, get to know that character a little bit more, but apparently we're not going to see Roswell anymore, are we? But it's it's an interesting style of storytelling, but for this, I wish that the main ensemble cast kind of, stuck around the main character, instead of, going, or the main character, Subaru, and Rem, essentially just... Because those are the two characters that get the most development, and Ram to a certain degree, but yeah.
There were some side characters that we got their full story very quickly, but then you can also tell that this is their mini arc in the series, and therefore after this is over, we're probably never going to see these characters again, or they're not going to be the focus anymore beyond this point.
But guys, what is ReZero about? Can anybody here tell me what ReZero is about?
ReZero is
about suffering is fun.
No, it's about
if you...
I got this.
Okay.
ReZero is essentially about a boy who winds up in a magical world where monsters rule. Monster Rancher. Basically, it's essentially about a guy who falls head over heels up a girl because she's pretty. Why? Because she's pretty. She has white hair. Apparently that's his. That's his kink.
I would say it is silver.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, it is silver hair. He likes silver-haired girls. That is his kink, and he likes them, and he wants to worship them as a goddess.
This isn't headcanon cast, Craig.
No, man, no. This is legit. This is the plot as a whole. He wants to protect her.
You forgot the pointy ears.
Yeah, she's an elf-like girl, so he likes that too, and he will protect her, and essentially and he rescued her at the end of the show.
After she rescued him.
Yep.
But that doesn't tell me what it's about. What is the show about? What is the end goal? And that's the main problem that I have with this show.
There is no end goal.
They try to build up the fact that there are these, later on in the show, they try to present, like, an evil for them to fight in the form of the witches cult, which you'll learn more about when you watch the show. But you can think of the witches cult as the big bads. But can anybody here tell me what their motivations are? Who the witch is? Why Subaru has any connection to her whatsoever? Who the archbishops are? Why this gospel is so... Can anybody here tell me any of that?
Nope.
I have theories, but
we can just say that
theories.
We can just say that Beetlejuice is pretty fucking twisted, but hilarious.
He's great. Actually, side note, and this is one of the other things that I thought was really cool. Betelgeuse, or Beetlejuice, or whatever you want to call him, actually has the same voice actor as Kirito from Sword Art Online.
He's a good actor.
Which is insane.
Yes.
So I tip my hat. To you, sir.
But it was only after that was pointed out to me that I was like, fuck, it is.
Yeah, right?
I can hear it now.
But, for a show that's so beautifully presented and really has so much that can draw you in and really make you interested, it really doesn't deliver in giving you any freaking answers, which would be fine if we had a season 2 confirmed, or if they made it painfully clear what the motivations of the characters were going to be. But if you have to sit there and watch a 25 episode anime and by the end you're not sure what you watched, it's a problem.
You do have a very valid point there.
That's like, I don't know, going and reading a Harry Potter book or watching Harry Potter and nobody explains to you who Voldemort is.
What's Voldemort's beef with Harry Potter? I don't know. He just wants to kill him.
Or if you just
But why?
Or if you just took the first book of Harry Potter, cut it in half so you don't know who he is, where he came from, why he has a scar, why he's at this school, and you're just like, hey, we're in a school for wizards. Why? We don't know.
How do you have a Thunderbolt scar? I don't know, but dude, I got this. It's a cool birthmark, isn't it pretty dope? And they're like, "That's wicked, Harry, wicked."
Well,
why can you talk to snakes?
Why? Why can you talk to snakes? You can return
I got
from death.
parcel tongue.
Why?
It's pretty...
Why? I mean, even explaining that he has parcel tongue is more of an explanation than what we get in ReZero, where it's, oh, I can return by death because this witch talks to me and gives me this ability. But why?
I just say return to death, and then she grabs my heart, and then I'm about to die. Which also is another weird thing. He can apparently attract demons to himself.
Well, they explain that pretty well.
Because he smells like the witch.
Yeah, I was about to say, they explain that. Because basically, the whole point is when he... maybe we should save that for the spoiler section, because we're getting really close to
I was about to say, have we covered everything that could not be considered a spoiler at this point?
I mean, I think that we have, unless somebody else wants to make a comment about the general plot or general presentation of the show.
I feel as though we've covered it, really.
What do you say, hostess? With the mostess? You're a host, not a hostess.
He's a hostess. Is he a lady?
He looks like a lady. I don't know.
I was about to say, when did he start? Oh my!
I'm joking. John is a very manly man. And none of us have thought for 5 seconds about putting him into a maid outfit. What are you talking about?
You better watch yourself, man.
Oh, he already knows.
I know.
He already knows. But yeah, what do you think, host? Have at this point, do you think it's time for us to kind of overall rate this together, or do you have any more comments?
The only other thing I want to say is that it does have very compelling characters, if only we saw more of them, and there is also, like, seeing Subaru's development through the series is worth the watch, I think. But, beyond that, it's probably best we give it our score and then move on to spoilers so we can actually talk about the stuff that we've been biting our tongues over.
Yeah, and then at that point, Craig's going to be in the middle and John's going to be on one side, I'm going to be on the other side, each of us is going to be holding a spear. It's going to be great.
Can I eat the popcorn?
Yeah, man. I said you should be the moderator. I didn't say you actually have to do your job.
Now, children, I want a civil dispute here. I don't want you to be throwing objects and trying to kill each other, okay?
You're going down, John.
This isn't Battle Royale or Hunger Games or fucking Fate, the Fate series
I will shove
here.
a spear up your ass.
Whoa, children. What are we rating this on as grading scale? 1 to 5, 1 to 10, what?
Well, just like every other episode that apparently is spaced out on, we do a 1 to 5 scale. Or I guess you could do a 0.5 if you really think this is the most garbage thing you've ever seen.
I give it a 4.
A 4? Why?
Because I feel as though, despite it kind of being like, kind of like really shallow in terms of like its explanation of its world, his superpower, which is inexplainable, his reasoning, his... Doug, I have some weird feelings about this show, but I found it compelling. That's the question I was going to ask, is why was this show, this hot item from the spring 2016 anime lineup, going all the way until the end of summer? Why was this the quote-unquote hit of the year? And honestly, I can see it, but I can also see two sides of the coin. It's like, I enjoyed it because, honestly, I like Subaru, despite his controversies, which we'll be talking about here in a hot minute. I thought the psychological effects of him dying and then coming back and him being mortified at what happened. I mean, the dude has died in numerous ways, and he essentially feeling the psychological and emotional and legit, like, oh dude, I got like stabbed and I feel the pain essentially of being stabbed, and I have like an anxiety attack when I see the person that killed me. Well, that's fucking great.
I think you're rambling at this point, Greg.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just like, what is your point?
My point is, I like it because I enjoyed the world, I enjoy the characters, and I enjoy the mystery of trying to get to the end goal. Despite not getting the end goal, he was actually able to do what he set out to do, to essentially say, you saved me, and I saved you. I'll make you love me, baby.
I'm gonna make you love me.
Hey, baby, I love you.
I
You love
will.
me.
Yes,
I'll make you
I
love me.
will.
That's my whole 2 cents.
Okay, so I'm a little bit more generous just because it's not finished, and I really did enjoy the ride throughout. I can't give it a perfect score because it's not perfect, and I have a lot of issues with this show. A lot of issues. A lot. But at the same time, I feel like for what it's doing, I had a lot of fun with this show.
Yeah.
And for the presentation that it gave me, I gave it a 4.5 when I first finished it. There's a part of me that wants to lower the score a little bit more now that the hype is gone, but how I felt then is kind of how I felt now. I've watched this show 2 times through and might be doing it a 3rd time in the near future.
I was about to say, you just watched it again recently, right?
Yeah, me and my friend Rin are about to... Rin being a gal pal of mine, we are going to be wrapping up me watching it again. We're on episode 22 at this point, so we're really close to being done. And then another one of my friends is very interested in the show as well. And I don't watch shows over and over again unless I do enjoy them and love them and want to share them with somebody else. So even though it has its faults and there are moments where I really just want to murder the main character...
We'll save that for a minute.
We'll save that for spoiler. But yeah, the characters are enjoyable. The things that Subaru goes through are logical, and that's one of the things that are great. You're going to be psychologically fucked in a situation that he is in. However, it doesn't really give you much in the ways of plot, and it kind of falls short when it kind of nixes characters that should be more important than they're presented as. So I'm going to give it a 4.5.
I've pretty much been agreeing with all of the points that you two have just been making. It is compelling, the characters are likable for the most part, and even the times that you do get frustrated with certain characters and their decisions and actions, that frustration is technically still part of the enjoyment of the series, is what they were trying to go for with it. And yeah, one thing I love about a series is that, as Cassie has demonstrated, it is a rewatchable series, and as Craig said, it has a lot of intrigue and it keeps you thinking and guessing and like trying to figure it out. And I am going to look into getting the novels. In fact, I do have volume 1. I just need to actually sit down and read it. But when the novels come out and they finally catch up to where the anime leaves off, I will be very excited to carry on reading so that I can eventually find out if my theories that I've developed during the time watching this are actually true or way off base. Because that is one way that I enjoy a series. It's like, hey, there's this really intriguing thing. Here's my idea about it. Is it correct?
And I suppose it's to its credit of its kind of vague, like, without explaining stuff. It creates interest in the fact that this is like, yes, it is not finished. Go read them light novels if you want to know more about the cult or the witch or what the fuck Subaru is doing there in the first place.
And another phrase that we've used in the past, it's not so much the destination, but the journey getting there.
Yep.
And
what a journey he went on.
For those reasons, I think I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Okay, so on average, we'll say we'll say about a 4.5, so I will go ahead and write that down. So far we've been pretty generous in most of the animes we've reviewed. It's kind of great.
Well, we've been picking anime that we like.
Yeah.
So far, so.
There you go.
Well, God knows what will happen when we actually get to review anime from this season that we've passed. I'm really looking forward to that in a couple of seasons when we get around to them. That's going to be sexy.
Yeah, I know I passed this thing, but it actually turned out to be hot garbage by the time it was finished.
I'm pretty sure it will happen. There was a part of me that almost passed Handshakers just out of pity. I'm happy I didn't, though. But, tune into our last episode for that. But, so what are we going to do now, John? Sharpens blade.
I believe now we go into the spoiler section, and this is when Craig probably needs to... I think Cassie was over-exaggerating a little bit, but
I over-exaggerate nothing!
I know what discussion we had outside of the podcast that has led to this kind of reaction, so... yes, if you don't want to be spoiled on any of the events that happen in ReZero, probably best you stop watching now.
Though, before we kick you out, do recall that you can follow us on twitter.com/theanniechatbox, or you can shoot us some email at annie@chatmail@gmail.com. Give us some feedback. We want to be better, and we want to know what we're doing. We want to know what we're doing well. We want to know, guys.
I want to know. And if there's anything you think we're doing wrong, or anime you think we should talk about, feel free to tell us, because we want to improve and we want to talk about things that you want to hear, of course.
Also, please write that cookies are not biscuits at the bottom of every email that you send.
Hey! I did not. I avoided that man.
I'm doing a throwdown because that's what we're about to do. So, spoilers. Let's talk about how much of a dick Subaru is. Can we do that? Let's go.
Guys, is it weird that I have the Tarzan soundtrack in my head now?
You'll be in my heart. That doesn't really fit here, but sure. Why not?
No. You're like, I want to know, and then I was like, I want to know.
Can you show me?
I want to know about these strangers like me. I was thinking that in the background.
Stab it in the eye.
Okay, we're going to get copyright. We got to stop this.
Oh my god. But yeah, so one of the other main issues that I had with the show was that Subaru is a dick to a lot of characters. And while they do build on that and show that he needs to grow as a person, and he needs to put not only his own interests first, not all the time. They do a really, really good job, especially in the later half episodes. I think it's like 18 onwards. He really starts to become a more developed and nicer person, and realizes that the world doesn't revolve around him.
Dependable.
Yeah, a little bit more dependable. He is a little bit that way in the beginning, but we realize that, and this is one of the reasons I love the show at the beginning in the first place, is that he starts out as this really happy-go-lucky guy, but as he's murdered and loses his trust in people, and he doesn't know where to go or what to do, and everything ends in a bad end, as it were, it starts to affect him psychologically, and that was cool.
And he loses the bravado and the front that he puts up.
Yep.
And he tries to maintain it for a while, even after everything starts
falling apart,
even as things are bothering him. And yeah, it's interesting watching that crumble. And
I was about to say, and honestly, that's like one of the main draws that got me in. Like, at the beginning, he does have the bravado. He's like, "Oh, I'm the main character. I'm the main character. I'm the protagonist, and I'm gonna be the hero." Gets the living shit kicked out of him, dies, and he's like, he hides. Like, when he goes to the Roswell mansion, he hides, like, in that old dimension that Beatrice has, and he doesn't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome. Because he kept dying, and he couldn't find out the reason why he kept dying over and over and over again.
Yeah. And that's going to fuck up anyone. And it's cool that they really explored that idea. It's not exactly super new. It's happened in other shows as well. But the presentation here was great. And seeing that character development was wonderful. Until episode 18, when you have a wonderful young lady who supported you and tried to help you through every moment of every day and loves you unconditionally. And you look her in the eye and say, "Baby, I'm yours. Let's run away together." And then she makes you feel better about yourself and really shows you that you are a good person and there are people who love you for you. And then he turns around and says, "Ameligaski," or however you fucking say it, fucking in Japanese. I don't know, man.
That man.
And it's not even just that, because there are tons of people who make the argument of, well, you know, he was in a moment of utter distress and she pulled him out of it and she knew from the get-go that he didn't really love her in that way and yada 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 and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but literally a couple episodes later they beat a whale and he looks at another girl and says, "You know, if I didn't already have a number 1 and a number 2 in my heart." And I'm like, you fucker.
Yeah, that was a dick move. I will 100% agree on you there.
I would have been like, "So Rem, listen, you've been with me through thick and thin." Her. No, she's too good. She's too pure and innocent for this world.
She deserves a real man, like Felix.
Felix, best cat boy, best trap. Everyone fucking like whatever. You know, Subaru is, I don't get that decision. Episode 18 is very divisive and fucking made the like, I've seen jokes where people are like, episode 18, 10 out of 10. Episode 19, drop, 0. And I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see it because Subaru is kind of a fucking asshole. He like, that, and for context, this is basically before she professed her love to him. He watched her fucking get, like, destroyed by Beetlejuice's invisible arm puppets. Literally fucking hung up and twisted and, like, destroyed. And then he's like, "I'm gonna fucking murder you." Like, legit, like, he mentally snaps. And I'm like, oh, shit, that's so fucking... Oh, he's gonna fucking kill him. And then he's like, "I love Amelia, dog." And I'm like, here, why?
After all they went through, like, literally, Rem at this point, and he has seen it, because that's another thing, is that Subaru remembers everything that happens.
No one else does.
But nobody else does, and we probably should have mentioned that in the main review, but who gives a shit? I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why he claims to, and this comes up in the series, one of the reasons why he feels so devoted to Amelia is because she saved him in a timeline where he then died. So therefore, in the timeline that continued, she didn't save him. He saved himself, and he saved her. So he still...
Can we just, like...
He still feels he owes her his life to her for something that, as far as she is concerned, she never did.
And that point comes up at the halfway marker in the series where they all go to the castle in the capital, and he makes a giant fucking ass out of himself and gets his ass handed to him by a knight, and he's like, I did all this shit for you! And she's like, yo, dog, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. And then I'm like, sick burn! Sick burn!
And that was great. That was cool. I like that they did that, but at the same time, he has also seen Rem die for him over and over and over and over and over again. I understand that Amelia saved him, but Rem did too, and in much, much, much bigger ways.
Better
and
ways.
On a much grander scale. Because also Amelia saved Subaru when she barely knew him as well. Which is fine. I mean, it still makes her a good person. But at the same time, Rem, the dedication and the reasons that she goes through everything to save him is due to the fact that she has that connection to him. And that also is absent with Amelia. And we honestly, even up to the end of the series, which we could talk about this, she doesn't even know if she likes Subaru. It's like, he finally confesses to her and she's like, could you just, give me time?
And then he's like, I'll wait for you. I will make you love me.
I'll wait for you to love me. And it's like, well, fuck you, bro.
And I'm like, whoa, aren't you just fucking cocky? You're a cocky SOB, huh? Huh? Yeah.
I mean, at least they stayed consistent in that regard, I guess.
Can I just say, oh fuck, now I lost it. I was just about to say, Rem, best girl.
But that's just the thing, too. It's just, I love Rem so much. I do. I adore her. But at the same time, it's just, she almost is the best girl by default because we don't get to see any of the other characters, and that's not fair. Maybe I would really understand why he's so drawn to Amelia if they gave her any more screen time.
Nope. Can't be done. Can't be done.
I think...
They had to fight a whale. Well, Wilhelm is a fucking boss.
Wilhelm is one of the best side characters in that entire show. And when they showed his little backstory in episode 21 or 22 or whatever, I watched that recently. I watched it literally a week ago. I still cry. I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't give a fuck. I will grossly sob in front of anyone that I watch those episodes with, because he is just a perfect human being who could do no wrong.
Yeah.
Isn't the light novel series at 9 volumes now?
That is a good question. I own the first 2, by the way, so that's a good way of showing that this anime does a really great job of making you want to read the source material. So, as an advertisement for the source material, it does great. I just hate the fact that I had to buy these, and now I've got to wait for the next one, and it's really annoying. But let me go ahead and look this up. ReZero light novel.
While you do that, let me just form a little bit of criticism here. And again, this is the kind of double-sided coin of I like it, but also at the same time doesn't make any sense. Beetlejuice or Betelgeuse, the cult. What are they? What's the point? Who's the witch? Why is it that the witch?
Fucking know.
Yeah, again, it's cool, but ugh.
My point is that from what I understand, the anime goes up to where the novels were at the time of airing, and therefore the actual continuation is in. If it was up to volume 9, the actual continuation of the series is volume 10, and therefore that is a lot of volumes being squashed down into 25 episodes.
That is a lot.
And so I think there's going to be a lot that's going to be cut out.
At this point, the light novel is at 11 volumes plus 2 side stories.
Yeah, I'm looking here as well.
So that's even more volumes cut out.
Yeah.
Being squashed into 25 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and that's just the thing. I don't mind the fact, and I guess this is where me and you can have a debate, because I don't mind the fact that they're trying to adapt something that isn't finished. It's anime. It happens all the time. It's unfortunate.
With shonen manga, too.
It's very unfortunate, but it happens all the time. But at the same time, if you are going to do that, you have to realize that there are people who don't even know light novels exist. There are some people who just watch anime to watch anime. Yep. And an adaptation needs to be able to stand on its own. Which is one of the reasons why, for example, you have Soul Eater, for an example, that manga wasn't finished when that anime aired, but they had an anime-only ending. Same with Full Metal Alchemist, which, by the way, Full Metal Alchemist, the original 2013 series, was one of my favorite shows of all time. Did I know at the time that they went off and did its own ending? No. Because I was young and I didn't know about source material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I almost can't even forgive it in that regard, because they could have done something with it that made it at least answer the most basic of questions, and it refused to do so.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you there.
Oh no, we're not arguing, we're just debating.
Yeah. I feel like they probably should have maybe followed Sword Art Online's example a bit more. Though, again, this whole thing was elaborate advertisement for the visual novels, so visual novels for the light novels, sorry.
Light novels.
Whatever. Close enough. I mean, well, even with Sword Art Online, and this is maybe me and you just need to have an episode dedicated on this, but I feel
light novels.
Well, not even just that, but like Sword Art Online and its adaptations, because I feel that the Sword Art Online anime, and this is where I'm going to throw down, and it's going to be awful. I love you, John.
It's garbage.
It's not garbage, but it's not a good adaptation, because they leave out so much stuff. They have so many time cuts. They don't explain why Asuna's there, which they do beautifully in the visual novel. They explain why she's so drawn to Kirito. They explain what he did to save her, which I'm not going to spoil that. Well, I guess this is a spoiler cast anyway. Who gives a shit? Okay, so they explain in the light novels so much better why everybody does what they do. And in the anime, I feel that it was rushed. They left stuff out, and there were questions that were left unanswered in that adaptation as well.
And
it's even then, it's my point there was that the Aincrad arc was 2 volumes. The Alpha Aim Online arc was 2 volumes. Each arc has only been 2 volumes that they've adapted into the thing. Yes, there was a lot that was cut out, and yes, the light novels are so much better.
You'll have out anything, though. I mean, look at Harry Potter. Cass, you're a huge fan of the Harry Potters.
Well, here's the thing, though. But with the Harry Potters, like, from what I saw of them, and I still need to go watch the rest of the Harry Potter movies, because when I was younger, I was in the mindset of, if it doesn't follow the book, then it's not good. And that's not true. An adaptation, as long as it does what it needs to do and explains the story and actually modifies the story in a way that it stays true to the original, is a good adaptation. And that's where I feel like the Harry Potter movies are good adaptations, but Sword Art Online and Re:Zero at this point are not. And that's just an opinion, because I feel that it's okay if you leave stuff out, as long as you give a definitive answer for why things are the way they are. The biggest problem I have with Sword Art Online, for example, is the romance. Where did it come from? Boy meets girl, they disappear, we skip ahead several scenes, she saves him, they're married.
It's so weird, though, because I hear, and it's a divided conversation, but I've heard one side of the coin where people are like, yo, the Aincrad arc of Sword Art Season 1 is, like, way better than Alfheim, and I'm like, I can see why people don't like the Alfheim arc. Creepy villain, incest. But why do you think the first half is better than the second half when the first half is all a bunch of time cuts and it's just like, oh, we're on episode 12, villain.
It's a better adaptation. But then again, we're talking about Sword Online now, and we're supposed to be talking about ReZero. So maybe we'll save that for a future conversation.
Backpedal here.
But it is a good point that you brought up. I do think that, for what it's worth, Sword Art Online is a better adaptation than ReZero is at this point, but they're both still not the best adaptations, in my personal opinion.
No, they're not.
And ReZero just needs more time, and they need to pace things better, and they need to answer the most basic of goddamn questions.
What if... I got a question.
My point was that maybe the relationship... Well, maybe... the relationship... Subaru's obsession with Amelia makes more sense in the light novels. It's just unfortunately it didn't come over into the anime.
I was about to ask, it's just like, man, what are the odds of you actually reading those light novels? And
I mean, I have them. I just haven't had a chance to read them yet. But I mean, I can't even tell you if that romance is better explained in the light novels. I was just about to say, wouldn't that be just kind of sad that, like, if the volumes didn't explain anything more than the anime actually did? Well, then I would still be in the realm of, good God, please explain why this guy is so obsessed with Amelia.
Right.
I mean, my opinion is not going to change at that point, but it can change. The point is your opinion, excuse me.
Your opinion is your opinion.
But your opinion is your opinion, and your opinion can change when you read different source material. The problem is that they need to stand alone. The anime adaptation needs to do its own thing, and the light novels need to do its own thing. And if it doesn't, if the anime does not present a story the same way or better than the original source material, it's a bad adaptation.
Jaffiel.
Yeah. 100% agree with you there.
And that's why I had to knock off a 0.5 off my score, because that anime could have been perfect if they just explained anything.
Man, this, like, as a whole is an interesting topic in a spoiler section about ReZero, but it's like adaptations is a topic. Like,
we might have to talk about that on a future episode. Maybe we can.
Jaffiel, because I was about to say, like, the shonen genre are interesting in that, like, they do adaptations. FMA Brotherhood is an interesting adaptation. My Hero Academia, etc. I could go on, but regardless, did we cover the basis of spoiling ReZero then?
Yeah.
Is there more? Did we need a dish?
We kind of didn't explain why Cassie seemed so aggressive towards me.
Well, I seemed aggressive because off pod you had made a comment about how, yes, Subaru was a dick when he turned Rim down, but he was sticking to his guns about loving Amelia, and we have to acknowledge that. And I was just like, well, not really, considering 5 seconds ago he wanted to run away and marry her. So that's not really sticking to your guns at all, man, actually.
Why would...
No, you do have a very valid point.
I mean, maybe if
my point was that up until that point he had been, I love Amelia, and everyone was like, we get it, you love Amelia, except for Amelia herself.
Can he just run away with Kirsch?
Well, Kirsch is a really great character as well. I actually really adore her, and actually that could be a fun conversation, because I think that out of all of the people that we've met so far, and no offense to Amelia, I believe that Kirsch deserves to be the new ruler. She's so good at what she does, and she's good at motivating the people, and she's a good leader, and we haven't seen that from any of the other quote-unquote candidates. But then again... we haven't gotten to know many of the other candidates.
I was about to say, you see slight bits of them. It's just like you see the little girl with the hat, and she's like, oh, I tricked you into revealing information. You see Felt, who comes back and says, oh, you're part of royalty. That's cool.
That's another thing. What the fuck was up with that? It's like, oh, okay, here's Felt. She was kidnapped, and we'll explain why in a few episodes, and then we're never going to talk about her again.
Nope.
Period.
Nope.
What was the point of even having that in there?
because they wanted to have her back and they wrote her in somehow, question mark.
Just don't. But anyway, so back to the conversation with John. I don't feel that he really stuck to his guns at all, especially, and I didn't bring it up with you off pod, but on pod I will now, they made a comment. Krush made a comment when he was going crazy trying to get her help to fight the white whale that he did not mention wanting to save Amelia once.
Yeah.
So
it was all about him, and at this point I don't even know if he really loves Amelia or he loves the idea of Amelia.
I think he likes the idea of Amelia
because he wants to have something to fight for, but when when the going gets tough, he can't even state that that's what he's fighting for.
I was about to say, yeah, why did he want to kill the white whale? Because then he rationalized
Amelia,
it.
Because if they didn't defeat the white whale, then they wouldn't be able to get there on time to evacuate the city and save Amelia and everybody else.
From the cold.
The white whale was the thing that was essentially holding up. And also, the main reason, though, was they wanted to fight the white whale because he knew that's what Krush-sama wanted, that she desperately wanted to beat that whale. So it was a bargaining chip.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if we beat this white whale and help you, because I know this is what you really want, will you help me in what I want to gain? So that was the main reason, but I also think, even though they didn't say it explicitly, it was always the white whale that he ran into that stopped him from being able to get there in time.
Yeah, it did, and it also, like, whether you think it or not, it's just like, yeah, it killed Rem. And I don't know, and he cared about Rem, so he's like, Rem, no.
That's actually interesting, too. I wonder why he's the only one who remembered her after she was...
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. Cause
did he get hit with... Did he get hit with the fog? I can't remember.
Well, she got hit with the fog. The thing is when you are, as a person, are hit with the fog, you disappear. That's why nobody remembers
from
Ren.
Everything in like the other.
Oh right, yeah, he
like
remembered
the other
after...
carriages that went missing.
Yeah,
and the fact that nobody. The only thing that I can come up with, and they didn't say this explicitly in the anime, but the only reason I think he can remember her and nobody else can is because he retained those memories from other timelines where she was never in contact with the whale. That's the only thing I can think of.
Hey man, it's the witch's curse, man.
It's
witch's
something
curse.
to do with. It's gonna have to be something to do with the witch's curse on him.
Which is never explained.
But you get to see her silhouette.
Explained. It's another one of the things that.
So Cass, here's your homework. You need to read all the light novels and then come report back to us.
I plan on it, and maybe I will come back on it later. But for now, it's just frustrating. And I don't mean to be hostile to you, John, but God, that guy's such a dick. And he's flaky as all get out. And I do not believe, in my heart, unless they show us something else in the next season, if we ever get one, that he really actually genuinely loves Amelia. And I mean, I guess you could play the whole love at first sight card, because apparently that is a thing. And I mean, in real life, that is a thing, but I've never been a very big, supporter of love at first sight. And that's the only reason. I'm fine with love at first sight and then...
cynical.
I mean, I'm fine with love at first sight and then you get to know each other and then you really fall in love with them. That's cute as shit. Yeah. But with Amelia, it's love at first sight and then you never see her or interact with her again forever.
You gotta save her from the witch's cult. You gotta do it. You gotta do it.
But yeah, at this point, I think we've been going for pretty long on this, unless there's something else everybody wants to talk about.
Nah, I feel I've covered all my bases. We're just kind of like...
Yeah, I know any arguments I have about it, I just don't have a leg to stand on it.
Well, that's fine. You can say whatever you want.
It's your soapbox, dog. It's your soapbox. Go for it.
I love chopping off your legs.
Damn, dude, that's fucked up.
I'm a violent son of a bitch.
I do agree. He's a dick. I'm not arguing against that at all. He is a dick. So,
he gets better though. It only took him dying several times over and being like tortured.
And eventually, he did save everyone. So far,
Yeah, he did.
Some of the bizarre ways that he came up with trying to solve the situation was like, okay, so the cause of this was a curse, apparently, so let's get everyone in the village to touch me to figure out who caused the curse.
Are you saying
it was the dog?
Are you saying, like, him trying to solve the reasons why he died are, like, kind of contrived?
It was just interesting how he, okay, that was an interesting way that you came up with how you came up with the solution on how to find out who it was. And, you know...
Yeah, it was interesting, and he was smart in his own ways, and I feel that overall, I do like Subaru as a character. I just don't like him completely, and I just sometimes wish I could strangle him within an inch of his life, and that he'll bleed out on the floor, which I gotta see a lot, and there were times where I was very oddly happy about it. But that's just me. But do we have any other closing opinions on the spoiler section?
Nah. Rem is best girl.
No.
And you are wrong if you don't say otherwise.
Oh God, shut up, Greg.
Nah. No, I don't. I honestly don't get the hate. I don't get the hate for Amelia.
My only comment about Rin is best girl is that
Rem is best girl.
Well, Rin is also best girl from Fate, but you know.
You said Rin instead of Rem.
Rem is best girl. I will agree with this, but I went into the series after it had already been airing for a while, and everyone was already saying Rem is best girl, and even after a little while that she'd been in the series, I was like, she's cute, but I don't see her as best girl. And then stuff happened, and it's like, okay, yeah, Rem is best girl.
Yeah, I think the hype on her is kind of unfortunate, because people will start to hate her just because she is popular, which is unfortunate, because she's a great character, but... Oh well, what can you do?
Yeah.
But that being said, you want to take us out of here, host?
Take us home.
Sure. So, with that, I hope you all had fun listening to our rambling and our back and forth. Let us know what you thought about our scoring. Were we too generous? Maybe you think we were a bit too harsh somehow.
Because they listened to the spoilers.
Subaru wasn't a dick, guys. You guys don't understand his deep thought process.
So once again, you can let us know by emailing us at the anime chat mail@gmail.com.
That's my boy.
Or
that's my dog.
Or via Twitter through twitter.com/theanychatbox. Or even in the comment section or below if you're watching this on YouTube.
Word.
And with that, I guess it's time to say goodbye for this week. So, goodbye.
Goodbye forever.
You'll be in my heart.
No matter what they say.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.